Today at Behind the Frame, we look at some of the oldest known photos from 150 years ago which show just how far the art of photography has come. These include studio portraits and some of the first examples of outdoor photography. The 1860s in America was a time of profound change, shaped by the Civil War and the subsequent Reconstruction. While the country was not yet highly urbanized, the Industrial Revolution was rapidly expanding cities and transforming the nation. The 1862 Homestead Act encouraged westward migration, offering 160 acres of land to settlers, which further contributed to this shift. By the mid-19th century, the North was significantly more urbanized than the South, with about 5.5 million Northerners living in cities, roughly a quarter of the 22 million people in the Union. In contrast, only about 10% of the South's population, or less than 1 million people, resided in cities. Southern cities were generally smaller, less industrialized and less congested than those in the north. These rare photographs capture daily life across the nation, not only in New England and New York, but also in the emerging frontiers of Tennessee, Iowa and Minnesota, offering a glimpse into the diverse experiences of Americans during this transformative decade. The steamboat was another popular mode of transport during this time. The Mississippi riverboat in the background of this shot from about a century ago is the SS Sydney. This rear-paddled vessel was built in 1880 for Captain William M. List, who named the boat after his mother. When getting around, horse and buggy were popular. In the photo on the right, a child dressed in ruffled shirt, cape and fur hat sits on a horse in the front yard of a home adorned with 4 stately columns in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Women's fashion was dramatic and elegant, with details focused on the back, as seen in the photo on the right. The menswear of 150 years ago was also more formal. A Civil War era academy in Orford, New Hampshire. A crowd of folks gather around the Glen Mountain House in Watkins Glen, New York. A family in a horse and buggy. A family out west. A snowy day in Westchester County, New York. A tenement in 1888. The earliest cowboys did not always conform to the stereotypes we hold today, as seen in a photo from 1865 featuring a Native American and an African American cowboy. The first cowboys were actually Mexican vaqueros, or cow herders, trained by the Spanish centuries earlier, while Native Americans brought extraordinary horse skills that made them exceptional cowboys. Enslaved people in Texas also honed their ranching skills and comprised the majority of cowboys in the state by the mid-19th century. Although African Americans had been freed from slavery just 5 years prior, their newfound freedom remained severely limited, impacting their roles in society, including as cowboys. Although railroads were growing in popularity throughout the 1800s, 1870 marked the beginning of a boom within the industry. Around the same time, the US held the first Kentucky Derby around the late 1800s. As for shopping, many people bought clothing and goods from a catalogue called Montgomery Ward. Boatman at Emerald Pool in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Children spent most of their time in one-room schoolhouses. When not in school, children played with dolls that they made themselves. Dry goods store in Princeton, Illinois. During this time, women started buying commercially prepared items to eat. The first 5 and 10 cent store, operated by F.W. Woolworth, opened in June 1879 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. In the 1870s, families were experiencing significant changes as the Second Industrial Revolution moved people from farmland to cities. It was not easy to take a photograph in the 1860s. The images in this era, and probably a few decades later, were mostly portraits of people in studios. So, this picture of Mount Mansfield, Vermont in the 1860s is a really valuable item. Man and horse at a barn in Springfield, Massachusetts. Members of Clarence King's 40th Parallel Survey team explore the land near Oriana, Nevada in 1867. New leisure activities like bicycling were becoming popular around 1874. Tennis was also a popular sport 150 years ago. A Paiute Indian group near Cedar, Utah in 1872. In the 1860s and 70s, photographer Timothy O'Sullivan produced iconic images of the American West after covering the Civil War. He joined federal expeditions to explore the region's natural resources, capturing its vast beauty and documenting Native Americans and pioneers. His work would later influence photographers like Ansel Adams.